chapter 32, the book of Numbers. And today we're going to see that on the east side of the Jordan River, after they've conquered several of those nations that caused them some trouble, there is land, and some of the tribes want some of this land because it's good for their pastures. And so you're going to see that there are a couple of these tribes that are going to stay on the east side of Jordan. And I don't know just whether people thought it was a good idea or not a good idea. God intended that they all go all the way to the promised land and that God would provide for them abundantly there. But people often will see on this side of heaven that they like what they're doing and they want their inheritance here. It's not a great idea. You have to trust that what God has said for you is that He knows best. You can see what you can see, but you can't see what you can't see. Okay, and God knows how to give gifts better than we would want for ourselves. And if we demand to have our own way, sometimes He gives it to us. And that's a scary thing. How many times have I demanded my own way and God gave me my own way, only for me to then realize that it wasn't as good as I thought it was? So let's read together chapter 32. Now the children of Reuben and the children of Gad had a very great multitude of cattle. And when they saw the land of Jazer and the land of Gilead, that behold, the place was a place for cattle, the children of Gad and the children of Reuben came and spake unto Moses and Eleazar the priest and to the princes of the congregation, saying, Atros and Dibon and Jazer and Neerath and Heshbon and Eliah and Shebam and Nebon and Beon, even the country which the Lord smote before the congregation of Israel, is a land for cattle, and thy servants have cattle. Wherefore they said, If we have found grace in thy sight, let this be the land which is given to thy servants for possession, and bring us not over the Jordan. Moses said to the children of Gad and to the children of Reuben, Shall your brethren go to war while you sit here? Wherefore discourage you the heart of the children of Israel by not going into the land which the Lord gives them? Thus did your fathers when I sent them from Kadesh Barnea to see the land. Okay, so he was reminding them that I sent spies into the promised land to see what kind of a land it was, and 10 of them came back with an evil report. And are you going to stay here because your cows have plenty of grass and you're not going to cross over the Jordan to fight for the land that you're going to have to fight for? See, we've already battled these armies. These people are destroyed and their land is yours. So no big deal. Are you going to let them go and fight and where you're not fighting with them? Are you going to deprive them of the army that you could be? Because we're talking now that 2.5 tribes are going to stay on the East Coast. Okay. All right. So, and the Lord's anger was kindled the same time, and he swears, saying, Surely none of the men that came out of Egypt from 20 years old and upward shall see the land which I swear to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because they have not wholly followed me, save Caleb the son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, and Joshua the son of Nun, for they wholly followed the Lord. And the Lord's anger was kindled against Israel, and he made them wander in the wilderness 40 years, until all the generation that had done evil in his sight of the Lord was consumed. Okay, so there's a little bit of a history lesson. Are you going to do the same thing? Right on the border, you are on the border of Jordan. Are you going to do the same thing as the people who rebelled against the Lord and ended up dying in the wilderness? Okay, so it's pretty strong. Behold, you are risen up in your father's stead, and increase of sinful man, to augment yet the fierce anger of the Lord towards Israel. Moses didn't mince words. You are simply adding to the evil men from your tribe that displeased God, and they had to be essentially wait around until they died. Are we going to have to wait around until you die also? Are you going to be a stink to where you are now going to make God have to judge us because of your behavior and because of your heart? Okay. For if you turn away from after him, he will yet leave them in the wilderness and destroy all this people. Don't think that your parents died in the wilderness and you won't. Okay? God is God. There's no children or grandchildren of Christians. Either you're a Christian or you're not. You can't go in on somebody else's coat. So he's saying you're making decisions that will mean everything to you. Are you really wishing to sever yourself from God just because this land looks good to you? Okay. Do you want all the people of God to go across the Jordan and you stay on the right on the east coast? Okay, we'll see. So it's warning. He's making warnings. Okay. But we ourselves will be ready armed before the children of Israel until we have brought them into their place, and our little ones shall dwell in the fenced cities because of the inhabitants of the land. We will not return to our houses until the children of Israel inherited every man his inheritance, for we will not inherit with them on yonder side Jordan or forward, because of our inheritance is fallen to us on this side of Jordan eastward. Okay, so they said, we'll fight. We'll leave our wives and children here and all of our flocks here, and we, the men, will cross over and fight in the army until everyone has their inheritance, and then we'll come back. Okay? Moses still isn't happy about this. See, people decide. People decide if they want to follow God or not. And everybody can talk a good game. Everybody can talk a good game. There's very few people that you're going to meet that's downright blasphemous. Very few people would claim to worship Satan. Very few people would flip God off. Okay, very few people would dare be so overt. But most people have already made up their mind that they're not going to follow God, that they're going to do their own thing. And so what they do is they define what they do is good and that God has to bless them. God has insisted that you follow him his way, but you decide what you want to do, and the sad thing of all sad things is for a person who thinks that they're right with God, that they're a good person, but yet they're not a good person. They're disobedient, and they are infinitely offending an infinite being, and their offense is infinite. But yet they can convince themselves, oh, I'm doing great. I can serve God here on this side of the Jordan. The land looks great, and I can still be a good Christian, and me and God are great. Okay? People can convince themselves of a lot, but very, very few people will follow God all the way to their inheritance. Very few. Most people will find their inheritance to be not what they thought. Okay? And this is a scary time. These people are turning from God, but yet trying to say that they're not. Okay? They're trying to convince everybody that they're still fine when they aren't following God, because God is leading them somewhere that they don't want to go. It's really, and it's sad, because these are the leaders that are leading other people, and then those other people are not going to belong to God. What's going to happen in 10 years? What's going to happen in 30 years? What's going to happen in 100 years? We never hear of these Transjordan tribes again. They are not numbered with Israel. They are absorbed into the countries or destroyed, because God is putting his blessing on his people in their place, and only those people who go with him the whole way are his people. You can claim to be God's all you want to, but unless you follow him all the way, you have nothing to do with him. And that is a sad story that you're going to see everywhere in the world. Everywhere in the world. The churches are full of people who believe that they belong to God when they've never followed God. They have never followed him. Okay? And certainly not followed him all the way to the cross. They follow him to whatever blessing they want, but they don't follow him to the cross. But they're like, hey, we'll fight. Okay. For Moses, this is verse 20, said unto them, if you will do this thing, if you will go armed before the Lord to the war, and you will go, all of you, armed over Jordan before the Lord, until he has driven out his enemies before him, and the land is subdued before the Lord, and after you shall return and be guiltless before the Lord, before Israel, in the land of your possession before the Lord. And if you will not do so, behold, you have sinned against the Lord, and be sure your sin will find you out. Has anybody ever quoted this verse? It's in the book of Numbers 32. Be sure your sin will find you out. Behold, you build you cities for your little ones, and folds for your sheep, and do that which is proceeded from your mouth. And the children of Gad and the children of Reuben came to Moses, saying, Your servants will do as the Lord commands. Our little ones and wives and flocks and cattle shall be there in the cities of Gilead, but thy servants will pass over every man armed for before the Lord to battle, as my Lord saith. So concerning them, Moses commanded Eleazar the priest and Joshua the son of Nun and the chief fathers of the tribes of the children of Israel. And Moses said to them, If the children of Gad and the children of Reuben will pass over Jordan, every man armed before battle before the Lord, and the land will be subdued before you, then you shall give them the land of Gilead for possession. But if they will not pass over with you armed, they shall have possessions among you in the land of Canaan. And the children of Gad and the children of Reuben answered, saying, The Lord hath to thy servants we will do. And we will pass armed before the Lord to the land of Canaan, that thy possession of our inheritance on this side Jordan may be ours. Moses gave it to them, even to the children of Gad, to the children of Reuben, and half of the tribe of Manasseh, the son of Joseph, the kingdom of Sihon, the king of the Amorites, the kingdom of Og, the king of the Bashan, the land with the cities there of the coast, and the cities round about. So this is all east and southeast of what's now Israel. Children of Gad built Dibon and Ashroth and Aroer. See, these are towns. You're going to see 35, 36, 37. These are all towns that they built on the east. And the children of Maher and Moses gave, these are all cities, okay? So all of these cities were now built for the wives to keep the kids and the flocks, and then all the men are going to go in as an army, okay? You're going to see that this ends up sad. They, for a while, they do take possession of this. They will go over and they're going to fight in the battles, and then after the battle, they're going to go back and never be heard from again. Just sad. I pray this is not me and this is not you, that you would insist on your inheritance on this side of heaven because you think that you've got a good life, or you've got a good house, or you've got a good job, or you've got a good situation. You may have blessings, but do not put your wealth here. This is not your wealth. You are passing through this place, going somewhere else. You have a citizenship somewhere else. And so I just want to encourage you and warn you, and warn myself. And I love you, and I'll talk to you later.